The social media website Twitter debuted in 2006. Despite being around for almost a decade, I've only been on the site myself for about 3 months, and I figured if I'm still pretty new to the site, there might be others who have never used it for various reasons. Keeping that in mind, since I was challenged to review a website for this video, I thought Twitter would be ideal. Like any reviewable thing, there are some pros and cons to Twitter. One of the big pros is that you can, well, connect with the pros. As someone who enjoys comic books, cartoons, and TV shows, I find that Twitter is an ideal playground where you have the illusion that you are getting to know many different people in the creative profession. I've used other websites like Facebook and Formspring to communicate with people who, before the internet, would have been unattainable if you wanted to speak to them, and it seems to me that there's a higher concentration of these people on Twitter than any of the other sites that you could use. Having said that, just because a body is on Twitter doesn't mean that you can actually start up a conversation with them. That's why I said you have the illusion of connecting with them. In the way of comics, most of the creators I see on Twitter use the site as a way of promoting their works, and so they are most likely to retweet something that's about what they're working on, and they're less likely to reply or even acknowledge if you tweet at them, even with words of kindness. But this is understandable. Anyone with even a little bit of celebrity status cannot always be expected to reply if you wanted to tell them how much of a fan of their work you are. Why won't you respond to my tweets, Alex Hirsch? The biggest negative for this site is the 140 character limit on posts. I find it really hard to believe that something with such a staggering obstacle to making a simple post on the internet would become so immensely popular, and yet it did. I imagine part of the reason the character limit exists is to make Twitter unique from sites like Tumblr or Facebook, where your posts can be as long as you want. Outside of the aforementioned easier access to people you can't find on Tumblr or Facebook, this raises the question, why would anyone give Twitter the time of day when the site goes out of its way to make it difficult for users to use? Now, I should mention that Twitter isn't aimed at people like me. It's aimed at people with thousands of followers who want to alert everybody that they had a sandwich for lunch. And if that's what you want to use Twitter for, it's perfect. It doesn't take that many characters to say you had mustard on rye for sustenance. But if you're like me and you want to live tweet a TV show you're watching, or if you just want to respond to somebody with a really long user hand, you're going to find you can use 140 characters a lot faster than you ever thought you could. Where was this superpower when I needed to fill space when writing a paper in high school? And I know what you're saying, I could be less wordy. And while it's true I could stand to be a little less long-winded, the fact stands that sometimes, even when I shorten everything I possibly can, I still have trouble making tweets that are just a sentence long. This is just something to keep in mind. Just because it's inconvenient for me doesn't mean it will be for everyone else. You might be very comfortable fitting what you have to say in 140 characters, in which case you're probably already on Twitter tweeting about this very video. Those are my thoughts on Twitter. It's very handy, but it's not perfect. I would change some things if I was Emperor of the Earth, but it doesn't need as many changes as, say, mustard on rye. What about you guys? What are your thoughts on Twitter? Comment below, and to make things interesting, do so in 140 characters or less. As for me, I think I'm going to follow Will on Twitter.
Will said that I'm a player. That's a good thing, right?